Hey guys, I'm Joseph Christina. Some of you guys will know me from Digital Photography Cafe. I'm the co-host over there for the last 4.5 years or so. I think we're on show 200 or something at this point. If you haven't followed Digital Photography Cafe, go and do so. It's at digitalphotographycafe.com, or you can find it on YouTube. So as far as this channel goes, jchristina.com, I'm kind of look at not necessarily reviews of equipment, but more of like, this is the equipment that's out. Why should you care? That's the question. Is it something that you can use? I'm a professional. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to tell you. What do I think about it? Is it something that you can use in your business? Is it something you should even look at or just look away from? So I started out, I'll just give you a little background as far as I go. I am a commercial photographer for 20 plus years. My first camera was this Minolta SRT 102. What's funny is the film in here is the exact same film in all the rest of these cameras. One is sensor, one is actual film, but it's still the same size, 35 millimeter. Then we moved into digital world, and we ended up with this. This was my first digital camera as such, professional digital camera. This is a 1D, Canon 1D. It shoots a whopping 4.3 megapixel, guys. 4.3 megapixels. You guys, what the heck is that? Yeah, exactly. Just think about your phone, cut the megapixels in half or maybe even a third. That's what we were getting out of this for $8 grand. Yeah, so this is kind of outdated. We're not even going to look at that anymore. Anyways, moving forward, we went into a 20D, a 30D, a 40D, 5D, 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III, on and on and on. I've been a Canon shooter for quite some time, but I actually shoot just about everything. For some of my fashion work, I shoot Hasselblad. Kind of moving into it, the idea of this kind of, I wouldn't call it a review, but kind of just to kind of look at the brand new Sony A7, this is the S2, the brand new model. There is an R also. This S shoots at just over 12 megapixels. The R is at like 43 megapixels. There's some other variations. I'm not going to review this as such. There's so many people that have done reviews on this. Go onto YouTube, type in Sony Alpha, type in an A7 S2 or an R2, and you'll have a ton of reviews. I'm not going to do that. I want to reinvent the wheel. Like I said, I want to kind of explain to you what my kind of look at this is. Is it something that we can use? Is it something that you can use? Is this a DSLR killer? Can we move from this old Canon DSLR type of bodies? Can we move from these into this? Sony wants you to think so, and I'm kind of giving it a shot. The idea was about 3 or 4 months ago, I was telling the audience, I'm like, I would love to be able to shoot with a small camera like this and still be able to get the exact same images that I do on the professional DSLR. And wouldn't that be great, right? You have less weight. I mean, this, you go and take about 3 or 4 pounds here and then go strap on another 6, 8 pounds here. Time you're done, you got one big arm, one small arm, big forearm, small forearm. It's not ideal at all. So after doing this for years, once I saw this, I'm like, wow, this would be fantastic. Well, Sony's trying to lure us over from, let's say, Canon by allowing you to use, like, for example, a Metabones adapter, and then take all of your glass and strap it onto this. And what they say is your autofocus will work. Everything will work, right? Everything works. So they put a lot of time in doing this. I originally looked at this camera at the very beginning. This was years ago. We were shooting Digital Photography Cafe live from Photo Plus Expo in New York City one year, and this came out. We were looking at it, and they had Zeiss glass on this. And they're like, yeah, instead of using a Sony lens, go ahead and use Zeiss, and it's fine. And I remember sitting there, giving it a shot, and just seeing that the focus was not just, wasn't snappy. It wasn't snappy. It was kind of in, out, in, out. It was taking a while. So my understanding is, I was looking online, I'm like, well, the new one, they've kind of fixed that, right? Autofocus is now snappy. So I'm like, well, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Is it really snappy? So the main thing that we want to kind of look at is kind of 3 factors. What is the image fidelity? How does the image fidelity fare from shooting this mirrorless setup here with their stock lens, with their manufacturer lens, Sony glass, right, in comparison to the same type of, let's say, a Canon 5D Mark III, let's say? What does it look like? Are they similar? Do they look as good, let's say? How is that image fidelity? Also, How does it look if we go and strap our Canon glass to this? Is it also fantastic? Is the image fidelity great? And more importantly, how is that autofocus? Is it snappy? Because we know, and I'm sure some of you guys out there are like wedding photographers or event photographers, you know we're in the absolute worst lighting possible, and we have to get the shots. And we don't have a second chance. They're fleeting moments, right? We have to capture them. Right? So if your camera is tracking in and out, in and out, in and out, not able to lock in focus, you've lost the shot. You just might as well just call it a day. Okay? The DSLRs are very good at snapping that focus. Nikon, Canon's really well at grabbing that focus, even in low light. Mirrorless has not been like that. But Sony's saying, we've got it, guys. We've got it. Do they? Let's go see. All right, guys, looking at me. Ladies, you look beautiful. Stay right there, Mr. Trump. Looking at me, all smiles. Hanging there 1 second. Hold on. Okay, one second. There, okay, keep smiling. Keep smiling at me. Keep smiling. What the f is going on with it? Mr. Trump, keep looking at me. Keep look. I know you want to get back to the table. I'm gonna have to change it. Let me grab a new lens. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, we got this. Bear with me. Bear with me. I know you want to get back to the table with John Cicada and your wife. Hold on, just bear with me. Okay, hold on. We're close. We're close. We're really close now. We're really close. Bear with me. No. God, don't. There it is. I'm gonna have to go to manual focus. I don't know, maybe it's just the lighting conditions in here or something. Mr. Trump, ladies, keep looking at me. Hold on, let me grab this, hold on. Okay, yeah, stay right there. Don't move, smiling, stay right there. Perfect. Thank you so much, thank you. Mr. Trump, no, Mr. Trump, I'm not trying to convince, it's right, no, I'm smart, sir, it's not that I'm not smart. They said this Sony A7S2, the autofocusing system was working. They said it was fixed, sir. No, I know you're smart. Mr. Trump, I apologize. No, I know, I apologize for how long this has taken. I really apologize, sir, please. All right, guys, all kidding aside, autofocus, well, it's good and it's not so good. If you use Sony glass, autofocus is really, really responsive. It's rock solid, it's quick, it's sharp, the images come out fantastic. I do see a little bit of front focus when it comes to the lens that I was using, the 16x35, but if Sony wants to do themselves a favor, they would add in autofocus lens calibration. I didn't see it in there. If I missed it, I apologize. But if they don't have it, they really should have it. So you can dial in that glass to be exact. So when you lock on target, you always have a crystal clear picture. Like I said, it's slightly front focusing. But besides that, if you do use third-party glass or another manufacturer glass using a Metabones, it was abysmal. It was absolutely horrible. Some lenses wouldn't even pull focus at all. Other lenses were slow to focus. What I want to do is I want to show you guys exactly what kind of led up to that little piece that I just did for you. And you can see kind of like the back end, the actual testing that I did on the different pieces of glass using the Metabones adapter, with it, without it, and whatnot. So let's go ahead and take a quick look here. So first I started out with the Sony glass, the 16-35 f4. And as you can see here, it's just spot on. It pulls focus in fraction of a second, and once the focus is obtained, the image itself ends up being extremely sharp. I mean, it's dead on. Like I said, it's a little bit of front focusing here and there, but the image, all in all, is really, really tack sharp. And like I said, focus is quick. That never used to be the case with mirrorless cameras. It was always kind of lethargic focus, right? Well, from that, we know that the Sony glass works great. From that, I moved on to Canon 24-70. It's an f2.8. And it did a pretty fair job. I would say it's pulling focus at maybe 1.5 seconds, sometimes 2 seconds before taking the shot. I do notice that the image itself ends up being slightly overexposed. It's really not capturing exposure really well. It's okay. Let's just put it that way. It's okay. Nothing like the Sony glass. The Sony glass was dead on every single shot, and it was quick. This is a little bit slow, probably on par with the Zeiss that we saw a few years ago. Anyway, so we moved on from that 24-70 to one of my favorite pieces of glass, and that's a Tamron 90mm 2.8. That piece of glass is just rock solid. And you can see here, it's just hunting and trying its best to find focus. It can't find it. Kind of moving around a little bit. I'm trying to get in there to try to get it to lock on to maybe some of the text, and it finally grabs focus, but the focus that it grabbed was off. It's blurry. So we kind of try it again, we look at it, we're focusing in and out, and you can hear it motoring back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Obviously you can't use this like that. It finally grabbed an image. Now we take a look at it, and you'll see when we zoom in here, it's just not right. Number one, exposure is off. You can just look at it and know immediately. But number two, it's blurry. It captured focus, but it's blurry. What is that? So anyways, then we moved into the Tamron 28-75. It's a 2.8. And once again, it's motoring in and out, over and over and over. The frustration here. Can you imagine actually doing a shoot and telling people just hang in there 1 second, 1 second, and then finally, once you just give up, you're gonna go to manual focus, right? I mean, it's really, really horrible, absolutely horrible. So then I moved on to a Canon 50, quick 50. It's a 1.8, I call it the cheap plastic lens. It does a really good job, but we wanted to try that out. Who knows? Maybe this Canon will be like the other Canon, and it'll kind of work maybe a second, second and a half. And instead, it's going in and out, in and out, in and out. And you can hear it just motoring in and out and in and out. It never grabbed focus the entire time, just constantly in and out, in and out. It's absolutely horrible. I don't even know, I don't really get it. I really don't get it. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's having a problem with the camera, right? Maybe it's just not focusing on this lens, or maybe it's just there's not enough high contrast area, even though the Sony glass didn't have any kind of problem, but let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. So I figured, well, how about if we go ahead and use something that's specifically designed for autofocus lens calibration? So I pulled out the focus pyramid, set that up, and put back on the Sony glass, right? The 16-35 f4, and gave that a shot. And as you can see, it's absolutely spot on. Every single just fraction of a second is pulling focus over and over and over. You can take shots literally in a split second. Absolutely no problem. Then what I did is I moved on to what we knew worked before, the Canon at 24-70. So the Canon 24-70 2.8 did a pretty good job, right? If you see and you look at it, you'll see that it's pulling focus once again at about maybe let's say a second, sometimes 2 seconds to pull focus. But at least it's getting the focus right, number one. And number two, the exposure is right too. It's not all over the place. It's not a mess. So 24-70, thumbs up. It's actually, let's call it usable. I couldn't use it, let's say on a gig where I need to pull focus immediately. It needs to be a fraction of a second. But if you're doing, let's say, a portrait, and you have that second or two in between shots, well, you can probably get away with using it, right? Because you have that 1 to 2 seconds for it to pull focus. Then what I did is I said, well, all right, let's go. I'm not even gonna play with the quick 50, right? That was just horrible. That was just, I thought it was gonna blow up. Let's go ahead and try another piece of Tamron glass. So, and you can see that once again, it's actually, the contrast is pretty good, the exposure is pretty good, but what do you have? You end up with this same problem. It's in and out and in and out. It can never find focus. And then finally, like, if it ever does find focus, the focus is off. So I guess, in short, autofocus does not work with third-party glass very well. right? I only found one piece of glass out of the 4 or 5 that I tried in my testing that even was okay, that could be even possibly usable. But if you do use Sony glass, the images, not only autofocus is dead on, but the images look absolutely fantastic. So normally, guys, right around the holidays, I'll do a family portrait. Well, instead of using the Canon, I said, well, let me go ahead and use the Sony. And I did. And as you guys can see here, it looks absolutely perfect. I mean, it's a great shot. Exposure is great. And you can see I shot it on a gray background. And then what I did is, and you can see it kind of move into the card that I created. It ended up being a Christmas card. And you can see that it worked out absolutely perfect. It's clear, it's sharp, it pulled focus immediately, and then the results are absolutely stellar. So kind of to sum up from the behind the scenes stuff, the testing that I did is I did the family portrait. It came out fantastic. It was rock solid and autofocus was great. I did the shoot where I used all the glass on just a generic item, which was a camera, and we saw how that ended up. With the Sony glass, it was perfect. With one piece of Canon glass, it was okay. And with all the Tamron glass, it was abysmal, right? Then I went into the focus pyramid. Like I said, it was for autofocus lens calibration. It's high contrast. It should be able to pull focus on it just immediately within a second. And once again, ended up with the exact same results. Sony glass, no problem. The Canon 24-70 f2.8, okay. Right? Within a second, second and a half, it was pulling focus. All the rest of the glass was horrendous. Couldn't use it at all. So all right, guys, before I go into a closing, I want to give a shout out to ATS Rentals. These guys over there are just so knowledgeable. They are just spot on. Any questions that I had, they gave me the answers before even ordering the equipment. And then once the equipment was ordered, it came on time in a pristine box in perfect condition with instructions. It had tape to close the box back up and even a return label and some candy to boot. So anyways, if you guys haven't rented gear in the past or have used other companies, give ATS Rentals a shot. They're at atsrentals.com. Let them know that Joseph sent you. So all right, guys, what did you think? Do you like the camera? Do you like the images? I do. I think it's fantastic. I like them a lot. The camera itself with its native glass, the images are amazing, right? They look fantastic. Would I give it to a client of mine for commercial work? Absolutely. Absolutely. Wouldn't even think twice. But can I replace my Canon body for this? Well, the answer as of today is absolutely not. And why is that? This hits the wall when it comes to, as we can see, autofocus. Autofocus is imperative, right? You need snappy autofocus. If you miss that moment, it doesn't come back. If you're a wedding photographer and you miss that kiss and the thing's blurry and the thing's hunting in and out, in and out, and in and out, and you don't get it, then what? There's no fixing it, right? Maybe you can stage it after the fact, but that's about it, and you don't want to do that, right? So is it there? No. Kudos to Sony though. Like I said, seeing them when they first introduced this back at Photo Plus Expo years ago with a Zeiss glass strapped to it, and it was kind of hunting a little bit in and out, slow focus. Now the focus is fast, even with an adapter. It's pretty quick. The problem is it's not consistent, right? Some lenses work better than others. Sometimes it works better than others. It's just not there. It's not snappy. It doesn't work well when it comes to autofocus. Is it the DSLR killer? No, it is not. Will I be replacing my 5Ds and all the rest of my Canon gear for this body? Absolutely not. But do I want to? Yes, I do. And if Sony continues down this line and continues upgrading the software in this that talks to this better and speaks quicker, right? And gets that autofocus snappier and does it in low light, I can see this right here, this Sony, the Sony line of mirrorless cameras being the top of the tops. I can also see that in a year or two, DSLRs are going to go the way of the dinosaur, and this mirrorless is going to be it. They are so far ahead of the game that they can surpass Nikon. They can surpass some of these companies if they get it right and start getting people to migrate over from Canon, from Nikon, from other brands to them. So I think what they're doing is perfect. Is it 100% yet? No, it's not. I would say it's about 80, right? That's not bad, but that's not professional, right? Professional is 100%. 105%. Professional is to be able to take a picture in any lighting situation, how absolutely horrible it is, still get that shot and get it twice. Be able to replicate it, do it over and over and over. That's what a professional does. But if you're not in the Canon camp and you're not in the Nikon camp and you're looking for a mirrorless camera, this will suit you well. It's a really, really good camera. A solid camera, and the images are absolutely amazing. It does a fantastic job. So, that being said, like I said, is it that DSLR killer? Absolutely not. But, could it be in the near future? It's all up to Sony. So, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit this button over here, wherever I put it. Hit that button, sub to the channel. I really would appreciate it. I'm trying to get the numbers up. And once again, I'm gonna give you guys more of, not just the how-tos and reviews and this type of thing, but more of the whys. Why you should care. Is this something that will help you out? I'm gonna give you my 20+ years worth of experience. I'm gonna look at different products, and I'm gonna tell you, is this something that you can use? So anyways, once again, subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoy it. And head over to jchristina.com. Once again, it's jchristina, that's Christina with no H, and take a look at some of my photography tools that I've created for you guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.